I am Jon Stewart, host of The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV+, and I'm here to talk with you about the stock market. IAmA. Hello Reddit, it's me, Jon Stewart. You know me. I'm Adam Sandler's friend from Big Daddy. Or maybe you know me from the popcorn gif, which according to leading internet historians, comes from something called The Daily Show, which I allegedly hosted for 16 years, but the popcorn gif is the only remaining proof. Now I host The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV, and sometimes I go to Congress and try to shame elected officials into showing a baseline of humanity. Today we're discussing the problem with the stock market. Ask me anything. Jon, you covered the market crash in '08 exceptionally, especially when Cramer went on the air with you. When you look at how the market reacted after that, do you think Dodd-Frank went far enough, or do you think the market could be regulated better? What would you like to see done to prevent a future foolish market collapse? I'm a bit of a Glass-Steagall fetishist myself. Yeah, baby. Separate my business practices, baby. I've been a bad lender and speculator. The ideas behind Dodd-Frank were well-intentioned, and some of the practices of collateralization and not being so over-leveraged worked well. But it wasn't 1,000 pages because poor people and the regular investors who had been so hurt in the 2008 collapse wanted more complexity. This shit has to be simplified if we're going to get more transparent and efficient markets and have a better handle on boom and bust. Also, there was no individual accountability for those that very clearly and very purposefully defrauded investors and the economy. How do you keep from getting emotionally overwhelmed with all of the depressing, complicated stuff you cover? If you can figure that out, please let me know. I will say certain gummies help. How do you and your staff decide what topics you want to cover on your show? It generally begins like Festivus with an airing of the grievances. We try to separate personal pet peeves from systemic fuckery. And I cannot stress this enough, you are going to need index cards. Do you think a bigger culture change would have occurred on Wall Street if any perpetrators of the 2008 collapse were put in jail? Great question. As Kanye said, while accepting his Grammy. I guess we'll never know. But it's clear that the lack of individual accountability that comes from no criminal process for clear fraudulent actions and organizational fines that make not a dent in the total bottom line, is a recipe for, as the kids would say, moral hazard. Which by the way is the name of my new crypto token. Jon, you said that when you went to Congress about helping the victims of the burn pits, they recommended you get together with veterans advocates and write the laws and they'd get them passed. So my question to you, if we were to boil it down to the simplest terms, would you say that the most effective thing the apes can do is get together, write some laws, and then give those laws to members of Congress and get them passed? First of all, let me say, a surprisingly nuanced question from ButtFarm69. Thought this would go a different way. I think the best strategy for an activist community is to specifically diagnose the corruption or harm they wish to address, then deconstruct as simplistically as you can specific ways to address those things. It sounds basic, but the inability to articulate goals quickly and simply is the death of many well-intended movements. Also, this speaks again to fighting within movements. Don't negotiate against yourselves. They are counting on it. How can we stop the stock market from being the bench line for how well the economy is doing and start making it the employee wages and quality of life? Shareholders don't produce value, employees do. Power to the people, motherfuckers. Let's do this. I feel like for the longest time this country has treated capital better than labor. It would be a huge plus if the country could swing that pendulum back a little bit. Hi Jon. Long time a big fan of yours, hoping to use comedy to comment on politics myself, so you're a legend. In regards to the market, it seems as retail investors get more involved, old market makers will try to make it difficult on them and shake them off like a bull. Where do you see this relationship between retail and institutional buyers ending up? My worry is it's a weird tug of war that either result in institutions beating retail into submission, or retail makes institutions accept they're not in charge anymore, which I'm guessing the institutions would not take well. Do you think the stock market will ever be a truly retail-centric model? Or is that an impossible idea? Yes. You are correct to worry. Disrupting the status quo is never without turbulence, but you have every right to the same information, technology, and greedy motives that they have. I also think the issue is sometimes not institutional versus retail, but middlemen versus the democratization of the system. One of the best ways to make yourself seem necessary is to create unnecessary complexity. I do it at home with my family. Wondering why you don't do a show on whistleblowers? All the problems you cover were often exposed by whistleblowers. And whistleblowers are the one thing Congress agrees on: loudly proclaim them heroes but don't fix the system that destroys them. As we've seen many times throughout history, one man's whistleblower is another man's spy and saboteur. Daniel Ellsberg is seen as a hero. Reality winner was jailed.
Thanks for watching.